What's going on? I'm going to read something real quick. I'm going to muse something afterward. I want to hear what you have to think about it because I'm stuck in this loop of thought. And this is a non academic thought, but something interesting nonetheless. I'm reading a book here called The Marriage of Cadmus and Harmony by Roberto Calasso. Let me read it real quick and then I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Inex was a girl sorceress. She made up love potions, not for herself, but because she wanted love to make the rounds. One day she offered a drink to Zeus. The god drank it, and the first girl he saw was Io, wandering about in the grounds of Hera's sanctuary in Argos. Zeus was possessed by love for Io, and so began history on Earth. A history of flight, persecution, metamorphosis. The first victim was the sorceress herself. Now, in revenge, Hera turned her into a bird known as the wryneck, because of the way it twists its neck with a sudden jerking motion. Later, when Jason reached Colchis, he knew that if he wanted to get the Golden Fleece, he would have to win over the young sorceress Medea. This is much, much later. This is a different mythology, but they're bringing up the point of this wryneck. Aphrodite looked down from heaven and decided to help him. A sorceress can only be overcome by a more potent sorcery. So Aphrodite took the wryneck, the delirious multicolored bird, and fixed it with bonds that could not untie it to a little wheel with 4 spokes. Now the circular motion of the wheel would forever accompany the jerky twisting of the bird's neck. That small object, that plaything, becomes the mechanism, the artifice of possession. It imposes an obsessive circular motion on the mind, a motion that uproots it from its inertia and hooks it into the divine wheel, which in turn, incessantly like the spheres, even the thoughts of the gods get caught in that wheel. Isn't that interesting? This idea of my idea that I'm thinking about is this. How much of our Western world is in response to those that came before us, and in this case, the Greeks, and how they chose to view the world? Or did they capture something that was always happening and they put it in such a right way that we can still relate to it now? Right here in this story, we're talking about possession. We're talking about the idea of you wanting something so bad, you get caught in this incessant wheel and it's just spinning around, it's jerking around, it's caught you, and you can't help but have your mind in that mode. And I think to myself, is that a response to something that is innate in human thinking that we can still relate to today? Or is this one of those cases where we were shaped by what had come before? There's no answer that I can give you right now, but it is something that comes into my mind quite a bit. The more you look back throughout history and you begin to see these parallels, you begin to see how things connect within each other, where things are born from. The more you study philosophy, the more you can begin to see its roots deep in the psychology of humankind. And you wonder, is this an evolutionary thing that has come from all of the past? Have we gotten to the point the way our minds work now because of what had happened before? Or are we circling the same thing that's always been happening? And as I'm reading things in these old Greek mythologies, that it's like, well, we can relate to that concept, that idea. The artifice, as that word uses. Remember how we talked about before, mentor, and what the man named mentor, and how that relates to how we use the word now. A lot of the words we use are Greek and Roman. Is that on purpose? Is that just because of those ideas are universal and timeless? Or have we started at that point involved from it? And even the way we look at things like justice and equality and culture, even philosophy and science, is all based upon all those that came before us is this something that can be unlearned? Is this something that we can break a spell from? It has been my vested interest to discover that. For good or for bad, I don't really know if it, I'm not really sure. But it doesn't stop me from thinking about what truly does happen when you unlearn everything that you've learned. What truly does happen when you begin to see where we came from, all the through lines. Look at all of our human history from now and go all the way back. Study your history. Look at it. Look at the medieval era. Look at the Renaissance and humanism. Look at, the Industrial Revolution era. I don't know. Name it, man. Name the fucking era. Look through it out. See the whole thing. And begin to see how thoughts form. What religion, where its basis comes from, and how it has affected us now. And you begin to see this through line, and then you wonder to yourself, can you break that? Should you break that? If you're continuing a trend that you know will lead you to your demise, or if you're continuing something that is so mired in bullshit, how do you, when you know these things, how can you break them? How can you break away from them? I don't know. Don't have the answer, but it's something that troubles me sometimes. Sometimes I wonder if what we do and how we do it are as real as we think they are. Sometimes I wonder about the human mind and how we exist. When I was younger, for instance, we'll talk about spirituality. When I was younger, I was never religious. Didn't really think about God or religion really at all growing up, tall, as they would say. And then as I got a little older, I just thought, well, there probably is a God. But if someone said, well, what faith are you? I'd be like, I don't have one. Well, I don't do that. But I bet there's a God. All the way up throughout my life, I kept that. Though I might have dipped my toe in beliefs and ideas, I always was like, at the end of the day, well, there's a God. And if someone were to say, why do you believe that? I'd be like, I don't know. It's just something I feel. And it's only until recently that I'm like, I don't know about that now. Not to say I don't believe there's a God, but I don't know. I think that's something I don't want to think about anymore. I don't think that that has any weight to my thoughts because it's bigger than that now. What that is, I don't know, but it doesn't feel sufficient. And so as I was thinking like that, I was kind of unraveling how we define God over the years, you know, from like Christianity, from, Abrahamic faiths to even Eastern faiths, even casually how we think of God, someone that's not even religious, just the concept of a God. Um, and we got to the idea that it's the source, right? In the Western sense, that God is the source of all. And even that didn't feel sufficient to me. It sounded great, but I was like, I don't know if that's sufficient. And then I learned that that's a Western idea. And I learned that God those in the East is not the source of anything. And so then I kind of was like, I don't know what to do here. And then I've had this new revelation where I think, God is a place inside of our mind that is so separate from us now that we see it as something higher and other than ourselves. But in reality, it is us. We just don't access this part of our mind, so we look at it that way. My big thinking is like when you look at cult leaders, what do they always say? Well, God wanted me to do this. He got, and what is he? They always want to like have wives. Like God wants me to have sex with underage girls. I don't know why he wants this, but this is what God wants, right? And I'm like, that's what you want, dipshit. You're so unattached from your own mind that you begin to see God wanting you to do things, and that's just a part of your own fucking mind. Then I start to see religiosity is a schizo kind of, what are the word it said? I can't remember the technical word, like schizo tendency or something. It's not true schizophrenia, but it's adjacent to schizophrenia. Religious beliefs is all on that spectrum. And it starts to click like, oh, that's why these prophets say, like, oh, God told me to do it. I have to have sex with this underage girl. You know, like, that's what God wants. And that's a part of yourself that's just so different and void from. This own part of your mind that you can't see as you think it's other. And I'm guilty of it too when it comes to my own work. God's writing through me. God's doing this. I'm just following the divine plan. And in reality, it's like, no, you're not, dumb fuck. You're the one sitting here writing it. Just because you don't know how to, what's the opposite, differentiate? You don't know how to see the connection between parts of your mind where things are like this are coming from. You just think it's other. But every time I analyze my own work, I'm like, no, this is all me. This is all my shit. These are all my belief systems and all that and experience. And it's not coming from other, it's coming from me. Places that I'm just think of it like this: parts of your mind that you don't walk into. If your mind is a giant mansion, these are just rooms you don't go in. And because you don't go in them, you hear them as ghosts in the distance. And you can either say those ghosts are voices speaking to me, like some schizophrenic think they're outside forces, you know, demons, as a religious person would say, but some would say dark voices. Or you might see that as a voice of God. You're hearing parts of your own psyche that you have misidentified as something other. And you can give it a negative or a positive, devil or God, outside voices saying mean things to you, or realize that this is all in your head. This is all you. Schizo, I forgot that term where you hear a voice in your head. Schizo immune or auto something. I can't remember. Brian Wilson has it, of the Beach Boys, who's now passed away. And I used to always think, like, is that really other voices in your head that you're hearing saying these negative things to you? Or is that all you, your own self, in ways that you don't even know how to identify, that's gotten so large that you start to see them as a bunch of other voices speaking to you? Because, like, I hear multiple voices in my head all the time too, different conflicting ideas. I mean, they don't necessarily sound like, you know, this guy has a higher timbre and then this is a woman and then this one's like, it doesn't feel like that. It's just like sentiments, you know, this voice feels like that and that voice contradicts that thought process. But then there's one over here that has a totally different idea, and then yeah, I can feel that way a lot. So then I'm like, are those all just a bunch of different voices, or are those a bunch of different opinions and thoughts that I have? Is this merely something we do as human beings? We're like, well, there's more than one, then there's people. If I hear 5 different ideas, those are 5 different people, right? And I don't know, like, maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I'm not telling you this is what I think it is. This is just me musing what it could be. But are we born from everything before us, that we have to think these ways, we have to believe these things because we're told to, or because maybe not even a religious or philosophical or scientific way we're told how to do it? Maybe it's just a cultural thing over time. When we stopped questioning the idea of what God is, or we keep adding to it, but it's still circling the same shit. It's still circling the idea that you can't know these things. The more my thoughts are taken like this, the more I'm like, I don't know if there is a God, you know? And I don't necessarily mean in a, what is that called? An atheistic way, where I don't think there's a God. It's not like that at all. It's just, I don't think any of this is sufficient. Isn't. Yahweh or fucking, I don't know. Name another God. I don't think it's that. One or the other. It's got this or got that. Does it exist or does it not? Is it a woman or a man? You know, like, I think that's all. It's not sufficient. It's all human bullshit. We just keep doing this shit. Because I'm always reminded of something that's been kind of an idea plaguing me for a long, long time. Is people always claim to know. They claim to know, let's say, about God because of what their religion says. Or they claim to know what he isn't because it doesn't exist because of what their science says. Or they claim blah, blah, blah. They always know because my experience, my religion, my philosophy, my science, my, I don't know, some other idea. Like, we all know because this. I did a DMT trip once. I know what God is. Now it's this. It's always something. My experience tells me this is what this is. And over the years, I would just sit and go, okay, file that away too. I don't really know if it was right or wrong. Until I got to the point now where the sentiment was like, man, people don't really get together and talk about how wrong they are, do they? They always talk about how right they are. If someone disagrees with you, well, they're wrong. And let me tell you why you're wrong. I mean, science is even born with that idea. Here's my theory, and I'm going to convince you that the way I'm seeing this is correct. And here's all my, ideas, and here's the proof, and here's the evidence, and blah, 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 until I can convince you. Science is even born around that. Religion's born around faith. This is what this is because I believe it to be so. I. It's all me. I, me, my. I, me, my. And so I just kept thinking about that. I was like, no one's ever wrong. And if they are, there's something weird about it. I'll come back to you and I'll work on blah, blah, blah. Or I'll change my mind to what you're thinking because you're right. If it works out, if everything's in a perfect world, that's how it is, right? You're wrong, someone else is right. You go, I'll adopt what you think because you sound right. That's in a perfect world. But there's still a bunch of I's in that, isn't there? And this kind of leads me back to my original something I mentioned a while ago about getting to the little I. You see what I'm saying? Transcending beyond all experience, all memory, all emotions, your past, your present, and your future. Go beyond all that. Drop all that shit away. Drop what you look like, how you feel, who you care about, who you hate. Drop that. Drop what you believe and what you don't believe. Drop that. Drop what is right and wrong. Leave that behind as well. Let's also discard faith. Let's discard humanity. Let's discard consciousness. Drop everything that could ever jump in your head. Whatever you're thinking right now, leave that. And now leave the next thing. Make that go away too. You make that all go away, and you're in this meditative state of nothingness. So sometimes the Easterners got something right. You have nothing. What's there? What's in that moment, right? Think you can achieve Buddha consciousness if you're a Buddhist. But like beyond that, what's this little I? Because the sentiment was from that vision I had, once you get rid of the little I, that's where the truth will lie. So what's that truth? What's inside when you get rid of everything? Nothing? Is that truth? Because it's confusing. It's like, how do you know what's that you should have a right or wrong? I had a conversation recently about, someone that I knew was watching stuff about Jeffrey Epstein files. And the person talking about it was like, oh, it's so horrible. It's so bad. And I'm like, I bet not to those people that were doing these messed up things to these kids. They probably don't think it's bad at all. Because it's like, what was that kid going to become anyway? Why does it fucking matter if it's good or bad? It's like they've transcended beyond good and bad because they're able to do fucked up shit to people. Not condoning it, but my point is, I don't know if good and bad exists because you can navigate through that because it's so subjective. in the case of this Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know much about it, but all I can say is the things that I was hearing about that he was doing makes me think that he thought these people were nothing anyway. So what's the fucking point? It's beyond a mental illness. It's something deeper than that. We get hung up on belief, right and wrong, and all this shit. But what if it's just made up? Why do we fight so hard? Animals, they're just trying to survive. I don't ever think you should do this, nor have I ever, but if you try to kill an animal for no reason other than for this experiment, they're going to fight you. They're not going to be like, yeah, okay, you know, you can choke me or whatever. Like, they're not going to do that. I won't do that either. You won't do that. Why? Why do we think it's so important to fucking be here? I got to have children. We got to continue this idea. I got to spread my lineage. It's interesting. Why? I'm not saying you shouldn't, because I know that if I talk this way, what people will assume is like, oh, he probably is like a narcissist, not a narcissist. What do they call them? Someone that believes this life has no purpose. Like, no, I don't claim that at all. I think there is one. I just don't know it. But I'm trying to argue for something that people are afraid to talk about. You're afraid to think about. What if none of it fucking matters? Why do you keep fighting so hard to stay alive? What's the fucking point? What have you done that you deserve? Right? What's inherent truth? I don't think so, because I mean, it's a thin veneer, the civilization. Someone could take it away from us in a minute. Really wanted to. I mean, nothing to many people in this world. My thoughts and opinions could be snuffed out like that because they don't want to hear it anymore. Did I matter in the first place then? Later on, do they matter? Look at the French Revolution, killing their king. And then the people that were involved in that got killed themselves. Did any of that even matter? Yeah, it changes history. Life goes on. Things change and evolve. There's an action and a reaction. You do something and things happen because of it. I'm not denying that, but I'm saying, did any of that even matter? Or do we want it to matter? The shit you went through in your life that you justify, I learned things from it. Did that really matter though? Does that matter? What you did and you didn't learn. Still here. Shit's still happening around you. Just because you sense things that are in your life the way you want to sense them. You see the way the world is through your eyes. So you interpret, this is what this is, that is what that is. This is what humanity is. These are the good guys. These are the bad guys. Just because you can do that in your world does not mean that's what it is outside of it. What does that matter? What you believe. Did you vote? What do you think about Trump? I don't know. You name it. What does that matter? Everything that I'm talking about that will lead me back here is, do we inherit all this? What is truth? What is destiny? What is science? What is religion? What is philosophy? What is a positive culture? What is a barbarian? What is civilization? What is a democracy? Are all these things just born from concepts of the past that we've gathered and smashed together like a fucking puzzle, and we've just created this consciousness that we lay on, this bed of thought that we exist inside, that has many faceted rooms that we can exist in? Is that all just the singular consciousness? Or is it bigger than that? I don't know. I don't really know. I have to say, because I never really want anyone to think anything, but I'm not claiming that nothing matters, you don't matter, and I don't matter. I'm not claiming we should deny our programming and fucking kill ourselves. I'm not saying any of this is good or evil. And I'm not saying that nothing matters in any way. But I think it's about time we start fucking questioning these things if we want to continue this idea of civilization or just the human experience. You have to think about these things. One time I was talking with somebody and the sentiment was like, why do people do these horrible things against, this was actually in reference to that Jeffrey Epstein shit. I'm not going to get into it because that's this channel. sure you know enough about it. But the sentiment was why, and it's like, well, the only way you could find out is diving into that, and 99% of people are too afraid to do that. I'd rather just say that's evil and throw it over here and get it destroyed. That's easier. Because sometimes a lot of people believe you don't need to justify anything. That's evil and it has to be gone because you should never hurt another person. And I'm like, that's a great idea, but I think that's flawed. I think that I think there's something about going places that are a little scary. It's how you can pull things out. Like when people go to a new land, cross an ocean, they don't even know how big it is. Someone's got to do it, and look what happens. Progress. For good or for bad, I'm not going to get into that because then we can talk about what happened to the natives here, and we can be in a whole nother fucking room. But I think that there's places in our mind too that we have to do that with. And I know modern psychology and what would you say, psychoanalysts and therapy. I know that that's basically doing that, but as an average people, we have to start to think about this stuff as well. When we look at the past and we see serial killers, a lot of the times, not always, like I understand, but a lot of the times they always attack women, don't they? Why do men attack women? Why would you do that? I can't fathom that in my head. I just can't fathom hurting a woman or a child. It's just something, as a human being, that's my line. I will never put my hands on either of them, nor have I ever. But why would they do it? I could just condemn them and say, well, they're evil. Fuck them. They should die. Or I could try to understand, maybe there's more to it. And, we'll give ourselves some credit nowadays. We're definitely doing that more. Even modern documentaries about serial killers, they're diving into their past and showing their weird relationships with women, with their moms or sisters or girlfriends or wives or whatever. They are showing that. But why do you feel the need to take that externally? Um, Son of Sam, why did he really feel like he needed to kill these women? Because they think they can identify it with his birth, which, he was an unwed birth. His mother got rid of him, lied to him, said she died, went for adoption, learned out, no, she just had me out of wedlock and got rid of me because, at least she didn't abort me. But he still took that out on women. Like, that's a bit far, but it's got to be more than that. That's kind of a real big fucking leap. By the way, that was also dust. I just caught it. What is that? Again, give us credit. We're trying, but there's so much to this. There's so much to this that we have to start to unravel these mysteries and broaden our outlook on that. Because I'm going to bring it back to the original point here, like with this book. Do we just inherit these ideas, these structures, these thought patterns, these beliefs? The way that we function in the example here with possession, really wanting something so bad that the metaphor was they're stuck on this divine wheel of like, oh, it's topsy-turvy, it's shaking around, I can't get off it. I want it so bad in a physical way because of curses that gods and goddesses have made. That's a great metaphor for it, but like, why does that relate to now? Can we break these patterns? Are these created patterns, or are they something that's just been innate and we just found fun ways to say it, and sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong? Have we continued on from the Greek fathers and then turned into the church fathers as a Western people? And then we see our civilization so wrapped tightly around Christianity and all that that you can't even see your way through it. Even some of the small cultural things have its connection back to it so deeply that you're like, I didn't realize I was Christian. I didn't realize that that viewpoint was a Christianized thing. Good and evil is a made up concept. You start to unravel these things and you're just like, what's real? What's not? we're going to cut it there. Anyway, just something to dwell on, something to think about. And we'll call this video maybe what's real and what's not, and see what happens. But I shall see you guys in the next one. And until next time.